our protagonist explains that the inhabitants of Miss already saw her with that appearance, and, above all, with those clothes, quickly apologizing for the misunderstanding, where she also admits that she got a bit nervous, but then also asks why they keep acting as if their agreement were still in place. Then, our guy makes a new proposal, suggesting that it would be better for her to ask the Witch of Taboos for help, to which she doubts finding her. Thus, our protagonist reveals that he is going to the land of monsters to learn more about that scroll, and because of all that was mentioned, he asks if she is okay with that, and seeing him insistent, our Toka wonders why he is trying so hard for her. So, he responds that she simply reminds him of a certain person, and even though they don't look or act alike, and much less have the same personality, still, in his eyes, they have a very similar aura, and the fact of leaving her here would be like abandoning his own aunt. Upon hearing this, the blonde thanks him, highlighting that he is very kind, but at that moment, our Toka was eliminating the dragon but feels a bit down for not leveling up. So, he allows the soldier he had poisoned and paralyzed to move his head and mouth, as he wants to ask him some questions. However, the bastard kept threatening him. Then, the elf asks who wants her dead, and just when the guy was about to speak, mocking her when she knows the whole truth, a spear falls from the sky, which completely destroys him. And that weapon was thrown by the strongest man in humanity, who introduces himself as Civet to our protagonist, and unfortunately for our guy, the enemy is out of his reach to use his skill, while on the other hand, we see an old man, who is the former Holy Emperor, Ortola, as this bastard ordered them to kill our Ceresa Sharon, and at least according to the words of this old man. He mentions that she turned him into a man full of vigor, and therefore, he doesn't mind her escaping, but what really traumatizes him is the idea of another man possessing her, and that's why he hired the 5 dark dragons and the strongest man in humanity. So, we return to our characters, where Sybil tells this to the blonde, who finds it very hard to believe. And to what was said, the Black Knight with Adora the Explorer hairstyle adds that the old man cannot die in peace while she is still alive. However, the guy with the eye patch wonders what they are going to do, as the current emperor gave them permission to use her as they wished before killing her. So, he thinks of sending his subordinates. Thus, his companion explains that the former Holy Emperor wants Seraph Rai's corpse to remain pure, as it's not for nothing that he offered them a lot of money. And upon hearing all this, she obviously gets angry. Then, the strongest man in humanity, addressing the elf, mentions that he will give her the opportunity to earn the right to live, thus challenging her to a duel, in which if she wins, she will be free. As the technique of the spirit grace of the captain of the NEA Knights is very famous, or at least he thought so until just now, highlighting that now he is more interested in the boy next to her. Therefore, this albino with red eyes, addressing our protagonist, asks who he is, and with that, our guy realizes that he is between a rock and a hard place, recognizing that this man is more dangerous than the Soul Eater himself. But out of nowhere, in such a frenetic moment, our guy starts smiling, and immediately asks the albino if they can chat for a moment. So, the guy asks him to give his name first. And well, our protagonist gives a false name. The name Hadikal. Upon hearing this, Sybil quickly realizes that this is a nickname, and not a real name, but still assumes he has his reasons for hiding it. Then, the guy with the eye patch interrupts, asking his boss why he bothers so much with the boy. So, Sybil realizes the situation, as this young man, unlike Ceres, is impassive and has no fear at all in front of the 5 dragons. Likewise, he adds that he is surely waiting for his opportunity to attack them, knowing that with just one wrong move he could end up dead, but despite all that, he is smiling and continuing the conversation as if nothing happened. With all this, our talk Miori realizes that this so-called strongest man in humanity is also a very intelligent man, knowing that if he messes up anything, that bastard will end his life. Then he mentions, "What I deduce from seeing him is that he surely seeks an enemy that satisfies him." And the white-haired man confirms this, so now our guy asks if there aren't many strong and superhuman opponents out there, like, for example, the goddess of Alien. So, Civil mentions that his homeland Bakos and also the kingdom of Alien have a very good relationship, and he prefers not to mess with the goddess. However, he does have high hopes for the heroes he brought from the other world, as with the blessing given to those heroes, they can reach their maximum strength immediately, and he has great faith that some hero will prove to be a very good opponent. Hearing this, Artok Miori realizes that this guy, as the strongest man in humanity, is tired of being at the top. But just at that moment, the albino mentions that he will honor Sarah's ride by taking her head to Katlia, who is the princess of the city of Enie. Upon hearing this, the elf gets furious, so the albino yells at her saying, "Silence, weakling! For if the Bakos Empire invaded Enie, it was only your fault." This happened because the goddess of Bakos wanted the paladin of Enie. And to the old holy emperor, he denied it, and so they basically reaped what they sowed. Although for our red-eyed guy, he prefers his opponents to be strong enough to be able to kill him. And upon hearing this, our crazy friends come up with a great idea. For now, he already knows how they will survive, and immediately starts asking Civil if he wants a rival who can end his life, and the man confirms it. And with that, our guy reveals his true identity, thus telling him his real name. Moreover, he is also a hero from another world, and he said this because he knows that the guy can sense lies. So he cannot bluff. Then he explains a bit more about himself, as he acts independently, though with the blessing of the goddess. And so he paints himself as a special hero, but without telling any lies. Therefore, from all the conversation they are having, Civil understands that this is a man whom the goddess recognizes as someone special, and that's why she sends him on a solo mission, unlike all the others. Which our protagonist confirms, proposing that he let him get stronger so that he can kill him. So, this albino asks him how he plans to get so strong, to which our guy quickly responds that he will go train in the land of golden-eyed monsters, adding to this that the goddess Bishios herself has given him that freedom, and in that he is not lying. Our guy, and since Civil wants to see him strong, accepts his proposal, promising that they will later fight to the death. But then he mentions that before leaving, they will eliminate Ceres, which our talk does not allow, stressing that he needs her strength to reach his destination and shouting to everyone that he will only use her to become stronger. Finally, the guy just laughs and allows it. And although one of his companions refuses, he threatens to kill him, and this guy quickly cowers in fear. So he stays silent. At the same time, he asks the guy with the eye patch to let Grim Ritter know not to waste time. For that match now decrees that no one will touch those two. And so he flies away, eager for the day when he will meet Kamamori again. Then, seeing all this, our guy realizes that he managed to get that guy to let them live, and without waiting any longer, uses his paralysis on that bastard, who, although realizes it, reacts too late, as our guy caught him off guard and from behind, while pointing out to everyone that he does not intend to prolong the fight, as after all, the Black Dragon Knights represent a great risk. But despite being paralyzed, the albino still gets up with great difficulty, and manages to ask what he did to him. And in that, Toa tells them that this is just to put an end to all this little theater. And now he applies poison to all of them, and even with that, the albino remains standing, with which our protagonist realizes that this man is not the strongest of humanity for nothing. And despite trying to grab his spear to kill Artuka, he doesn't succeed, as the poison is too strong. And since our guy is not here to waste time and needs to prepare for what is coming, he begins to use his Pamar while they launch a signal for another squad to come. And in an instant several dragons appear at the same time the blonde appears by his side, highlighting that she will stay with him. And that Artoa thanks her, while, although still injured, he gives the order to kill them, but to attack from a distance. Thus, without wasting any time, our black-haired guy, linked with his Pamar, shows us the power they obtain thanks to the monster enhancer and a tremendous technique they call Assault Axle, with which he emanates a great amount of power. And so, thanks to the elasticity of the slime, he can use paralysis on all those in the sky. Since they are linked, Pig Imaru is more of a means for him, with which it is easier to reach the rivals, and thus he puts them all to sleep at the same time as he unlocks 3 new abilities: freezing, darkness, and rage. And upon quickly testing the first one, which would be darkness, he realizes that it blinds them. And then, when using rage, he discovers that it incites them to violence, and makes them try to move even though they are paralyzed. Seeing all this, knowing that they wanted to have fun with the elf, he feels no pity in continuing to experiment with this scum. And so he continues leveling up and up. So, at one point, having already finished off most of them, he deactivates the link with Pig Imaru. But surprisingly, the one who is still conscious and speaking is none other than Civet Gatl, whose last question is who the hell he is. And since our guy knows that he's going to die anyway, he explains that he is no longer a hero who will save the world, but that he is going to fulfill his revenge. And after hearing this, the man, the strongest in humanity, dies. And then they quickly take the opportunity to destroy the previous clothes that Sarah's Rai was wearing. And he knows that with this, everyone else will think she is dead, happy that she stays. This is when the blonde mentions that if he had let her fall, she wouldn't have been able to recover. And when she looks at him, she gets nervous, emphasizing that he has a very kind expression, to which he confirms, as he was thinking of his aunt. And then they talk about the missing member, who was the hero killer. And this guy was the only one who could surpass the strongest in humanity, as, unlike Civet, he was an aggressive and bloodthirsty man. And remembering the size of the dragons, our protagonist recalls that he already killed him, which obviously surprises Alfita, asking if he defeated him just like that. And he responds that it seems so, while on the other hand, his Go is worried, as he still doesn't have a unique ability. At the same time, a new girl arrives, who introduces herself as an envoy on behalf of the goddess Bisis. And from now on, she will take care of them, so obviously the class bully shows up, who disrespects her. Although she mentions that he shouldn't behave like that, he keeps bothering her, calling her a dwarf and saying that there's no way they'll follow her orders. So, in a quick move, the little one knocks him out, warning the others that this will serve as an introduction. And from now on, they will move on to the next phase. So, we return to our protagonist, who tells the reason for his hatred for the goddess Vicious, and on the other hand, Alfita isn't there. Instead of criticizing him, she supports him, asking him to make good use of his strength on the path to revenge. The girl completely surrenders to our guy, and since she is so insistent, he ends up accepting. And then she takes the opportunity to get a little closer, promising him that she will meet his expectations. While he, in his mind, walking towards the objective, mentions that one day he will repay this blonde, while remembering that he always pays his debts, whether of gratitude or hatred. Therefore, we move on to another panel where the wretched goddess Vicious is, who comments that she was right to ask Nianan to watch over the heroes, as after all, she is strong, intelligent, and above all, loyal. Yes, so loyal that she even licks her feet. Also, here the wretched one mentions that the day when the heroes will face the great demon empire is approaching. And with nothing more to say, comment the word deception to show that you made it to the end. See you next time. Take care, bathe, and goodbye.